Hi folks, you're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about, there've been a few gushing articles and documentaries doing the rounds about Angela Merkel, the former chancellor and politician of Germany, and she's been one of the most prominent and loyal and steadfast and dedicated globalists. I mean, if the World Economic Forum had decided to, create a loyal globalist out in the back room and let them loose, they would have created her. You could not have got a more loyal globalist. She's aggressively followed feminism, gay, lesbian, climate change, mass migration. She has ticked every globalist box there and has aggressively worked to undermine the social cohesion and wealth of the German nation in a way that you wouldn't have thought was possible. Now, she must have had a lot of support. The politicians around her weren't opposing her, and so she was able to do, follow, again, with the support of the people around her, she's able to follow the globalist script to the letter. And if you listen to pretty much all her public announcements and speeches, it's just gushes out one globalist talking point after another, after another, after another. So what has Angela Merkel achieved? What are her credentials and so on? It's almost as if she was put in place specifically to deliver the globalist agenda. But let's sort of have a look, because she's, Dr. Merkel, scientist and genius and this, that, and next thing. I can't see it. I mean, it's so let's have a look at Angela Merkel, and once we take a closer look and pull back the curtain, we'll see that she was nothing. She was only a globalist stooge. She's never been anything more than that. Just a flat-out globalist stooge, and has, in my opinion at least, played the most significant role in the ruination of Germany that anyone could have played. Now, she was born in West Germany. Just a quick history lesson here. After the end of World War II, Germany was divided into 4 zones. The British zone, American zone, French zone, Russian zone. The Russian zone, or the Soviet Union as it was then, the communist Soviet Union, they turned their zone of occupation, into a separate nation called the Democratic German Republic. I think it was called DDR. And that was a communist society. And in 1961, they built the Berlin Wall, because Berlin was a multi, the city of Berlin was also divided into 4 zones. So it was like an American, British, and French zone within the overall Soviet Union, so within the separate country that the Russians or the Soviets made a decent effort at trying to get the British and Americans to quit Berlin. It didn't work out, but anyway, in 1961 they built a wall. The reason being is that once the inhabitants of East Germany, particularly the younger people and the more skilled people, once they realised how brutal and oppressive the communist regime was, they quit East Germany and went to the West. They'd go to West Berlin first, and then they'd come out of West Berlin into what was West Germany. That, quick history lesson there. Now, that Berlin Wall was symbolic, if you like, of the oppression of the communists. Now, remember, this wall, by the way, wasn't to stop people coming in, although it served that purpose, I guess. It was primarily to stop East Germans leaving East Germany. I think when you were 65, you could leave legally, but before that, you had to. You weren't allowed to leave East Germany. You were prevented from leaving, which seems quite astonishing, really. But given that so many people wanted to leave East Germany and go to the West, then the government had to stop these people leaving, particularly, again, the skilled younger workers. So the wall was to keep people in, not to keep them out. So Merkel made big hay of this, walls are bad, walls are oppression. And given that the reason the wall was built in Berlin, then it was oppressive. and they would compare this to Trump. Trump wants to build a wall, so he supports oppression. And well, Trump's kind of keep illegal aliens out, not force people to keep, stay in. Now, remember, if you tried to leave East Germany without permission, and you tried to make a break for it over the wall or something like that, that they would shoot you and kill you. I mean, this is the and if they managed to catch you beforehand, you would be arrested and you could spend a long time in prison after being interrogated and beaten up and so on. So the Berlin Wall was definitely oppressive to keep people in, to not allow people freedom of movement. So it was oppressive there. Trump's wall has had nothing to do with that same sort of oppression, and it's horribly misrepresented in the globalist propaganda in that way. So this is the divide between East and West Germany. Now, Merkel's family, and she's born in West Germany, so the free West Germany. But just as the Western German economy is really taking off and doing rather well, just at that time, the Merkel's parents decide to move from West Germany to East Germany, which is allegedly a town or a village where I think a father or a mother or whatever grew up or was born or came from originally. Now, why you'd go from the wealthy, prosperous West Germany to the much less prosperous, very oppressive East Germany and do so willingly is quite beyond my comprehension. The way Merkel's propagandists argue it is he was a theologian, and Merkel's father was a theologian, and he wanted to practice his Christian theology in a communist country that didn't allow Christian theology. I mean, that really makes sense. So he goes to an oppressive communist regime that views religion and Christianity and so on as being a direct competitor for state power. But he goes to East Germany to follow theology. I mean, that's nonsense in my view. So I don't know what he was going for. But anyway, there you go. Now, as far as I can tell, Merkel was she looks, she's growing up. Certainly as she becomes a teenager, she looks very butch. Hard to imagine she's not a lesbian there. But anyway, she decides to study science. Now, at around the time that Merkel was going to Berlin to the university there to study science, this was at the same time that the East Germans, following the Soviet Union's lead, were doing a real push for affirmative action, equity outcomes. It's a very communist, Marxist thing, though, this equity, affirmative action, equal outcomes thing. And they wanted to have as many women as possible that they could get into things like science and engineering and so on, again, to create these equal outcomes. Now, as with all affirmative action programs, to do that, they've got to lower the standards. And they were certainly not shy about doing this in the communist countries. The outcome was what they were seeking. And if they had to lower standards or gift degrees or affirmative action or whatever, it didn't matter because the outcome was what they were achieving. And that's how the communists sort of measured things. It was an outcome-based thing, not an actual accomplishment or achievement or productivity or a quantification of high levels of output. It wasn't that. It was just let's create the outcome, and the rest, ideologically, the outcome is what they're pursuing. So during this big drive by the East German communist government, this affirmative action equity drive, during that time, Merkel got a degree in science. It might have been a PhD, I don't know. Now here's the bit that sort of surprises, I think, any onlooker, because already she's been selected, and I don't know why. She's not a particularly bright student. She's not a good, effective public speaker. She has no presence that I can discern, at least. And straight away, she's picked for, she's given like a teaching job. Now, teaching jobs and what she was doing, those are very prestigious in East Germany or in any of the communist countries. This gives you privileges that the normal citizen just doesn't have. And she's gifted this almost straight out of college. Now, this is very strange. So they must have assumed this is the East German communist government that was very ruthless, by the way. a lot of Secret Service agents running around spying on people, a lot of people in prison, and unusual amount of people in prison for wrong thinking, that sort of stuff. But somehow she gets elevated to this quite prestigious role at a much younger age than you'd think it would happen. As soon as, almost the minute that East Germany drops the communist thing, she immediately is given a job in government, in the East German government, someone with no political experience or anything, and she's just gifted a job in the government. That's astonishing. Why? I mean, she's can't be somebody's mistress. She doesn't. I mean, I can't imagine as somebody being sexually excited by her. But anyway, she straight away gets a job there, and then East Germany, West Germany, then a reunification goes, and the rather right wing Chancellor of West Germany, Helmut Kohl, he as soon as the reunification is a thing, he gives Merkel a job in the federal government. I mean, they give her an electoral district that she can't lose in, and then give her a job in the federal government. Now, this is for unified Germany. This is quite surprising. Why would they do that? This is somebody who has nothing to recommend them that's obvious. And going back in the day, she had a few interviews that you can still find online if you dig around. And the West German interviewers, like a political program, they're saying, hey, this is strange. You're obviously being selected for things, but you seem to have done nothing or contributed nothing or achieved nothing. You're just a passenger while other people put you in these positions. And she looked rather bewildered, like someone who didn't know what was going on and didn't understand it. But hey, if somebody wants to give me prestigious, well-paying jobs, what's the problem? But again, she had this very butch sort of look, didn't know what to say, had no presentation, didn't, any brain power she might have had just didn't come across. I wouldn't say she came across as simple necessarily, but certainly not somebody that stood out in any way. If someone had said sort of back then that she'd one day be Chancellor of Germany, they'd have been laughed out of the room because there was just nothing there that would suggest or imply that. You can look at a younger, Helmut Kohl or something, or I don't know, a younger Winston Churchill, or and you go, well, this person could go places, but you don't see that in her at all in any way. So straight away, Helmut Kohl, almost the day she enters Parliament, she gets given a ministerial role, like she's like 30 or something. She gets given a ministerial role in the government. This is something that people, have to serve 10 or 15 years in government, sitting on the back benches of the Parliament before they get a ministry. And she gets it almost from day one, again, with no political experience, nothing that recommends her. Now, the argument is that she was given a ministerial position because it would help integrate East Germany with West Germany, and make the East Germans feel that they're being represented in the Parliament by one of their own. But I don't think Merkel was ever one of the East German. I don't think she was ever someone of the people. Far from it. So, what Helmut Kohl was doing, and his handlers and advisors around him was anyone's guess. So she's given a soft ministry, like the Ministry for Women or the Ministry for Children or something like that was the first gig. Then she gets given the job of Minister of Climate Change. Again, soft ministries, very leftist, very globalist ministries. This is where, she could get into the education system and spread LGBT stuff and, lower the standards and have affirmative action programs, these sorts of things. So, and she was given a surprising free rein that she still talks and acts like an undergraduate, a sociology undergraduate, in my view, that she'd become, achieved a science degree or a PhD in science, whatever it was, just seemed, no, you just listen to her and there's just no way. Margaret Thatcher got a degree in chemistry, and you can see that. You listen to the way she talks, how she forms her views, how she presents them, the element of logic in there. So, no, she got a chemistry degree. You listen to Merkel speak, And no, she's got to be a sociologist. No way did she do a hard science degree. And if she did get one, it was given to her as a gift through affirmative action. I mean, that would be the conclusion, certainly, that I would draw listening to her. So the media are already sort of querying, how come you're being given ministries? You got no gifts or talents. What the fuck's going on? Then she's in opposition, I think, for a while, or not in a coalition. The party she's part of, coalition. Then her party comes in, and then shortly afterwards, she somehow appears as Chancellor of Germany. I don't get this. What support did she have? She's got no political achievements or accomplishments. What is she? I mean, how is this even possible? I mean, it's almost as bad as like Rishi Sunak in Britain. It's like she was installed by external forces and powers. So as soon as she gets in as Chancellor, within a short space afterwards, well, I guess when she initially came in, she was talking about fiscal probity and things like that. But the loans to Greece, for example. But she very quickly did a pirouette. Again, it's like she's talking saying what people are telling her to say. I don't think there's original thought anywhere in the way she presents arguments and so on. She just goes in talking points. So then she arranges for 1 million illiterate peasant migrants from the Middle East, supposed refugees, to come to Germany, and it sort of continued from then on. But she's represented as some great powerhouse of benign liberalism and so on, but just from what I can see, she was installed by globalist forces for the sole purposes of destroying Germany and creating social disharmony amongst the German population, bringing in completely incompatible people and not requiring them to learn German or to learn skills or so on and so forth. So creating a multicultural hellhole and so on. So this is to me, if you were looking for an example of failed political leadership and so on, then I would go and say, well, here's a good example of failed political leadership. But the propaganda machine has it otherwise. She brought in all these illiterate brown and black peasants to Germany. Hooray! Whoa, high achievement. She's gone with green policies that destroyed the economy and tore the standard of living of Germans apart. Hey, what an achievement. She's had gay lesbian propaganda going through the schools. Yeah. She's lowered the standard of education to affirmative action, where anybody with an IQ of minus 10 million can still get a PhD. Yeah, what an accomplishment. I mean, that's all I see that she's achieved. And for goodness sakes, why is she being lionized by anybody? But the globalist propaganda machine, she's been a globalist stooge, I would argue, and those are her accomplishments, which is what the globalists wanted. You've been with Tacitus today, a Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.